A Time for Change, Chapter 4, Goodbye, Boston. Amari never did finish her cherry pie that night, and after that eventful dinner, there were many nights when she sobbed silently into her pillow before drifting off. But gradually, over the month and a half following her dad's big news, Amari adjusted to the fact that she really was leaving Mattapan. On a number of occasions, Mrs. Johnson reminded her daughter that her name, Amari, came from the Yoruba word meaning strength. Since there was absolutely nothing she could do to escape the impending move, Amari decided she'd best make the most of her time with Jackie and her family in Boston. In her trusted journal, Amari made a long and detailed list of all the things she hoped to accomplish and see before moving. One night, after their Friday fun ritual, Amari and her parents went to the Museum of Science. Amari loved sitting with her neck craned to see the myriad stars overhead in the planetarium. She listened to the sky talk intently, finding out what stars were going to be bright in the sky that evening. And despite the fact that it was mostly little kids at the Spooky the Owl program, Amari didn't mind sitting cross-legged on the museum floor to hear all about the different kinds of owls. Sometimes she thought that being an ornithologist would be a really neat job, especially if you got to travel the world looking for exotic bird species. The last couple of days before the move were strange. Dr. Johnson did not go to work at the hospital. He scheduled vacation days so that he could spend a little time with Amari before his new job started at Shaw. She thought that was really sweet of him, especially since she knew she'd been so moody and irritable these last few weeks. The Saturday before the move, Amari and her father spent the whole day together, which was a rare treat. Mrs. Johnson was still packing up her best dishes and appliances in the kitchen and boxing up all of their clothes. Amari and her dad went out to breakfast and ordered blueberry pancakes slathered with butter and pure maple syrup. He even let her order a real caffeine-laden cup of coffee, just like he did, something her mother would never have agreed to. Amari had been sipping her dad's coffee ever since she was a toddler. There was just something about its rich smell and holding the warm mug that she found both comforting and grown up. "What's your pleasure, young lady? I am happy to go wherever you'd like today. It's beautiful out. The sun is shining and the fine city of Boston awaits," her dad said. "Could we walk along some sections of the Freedom Trail today? I like investigating all the old buildings and finding out what happened there. We could wander through Boston Common one more time and then go to the North End to get some of those Italian cookies and cannolis at Mike's Pastry. If it stays nice out, we could eat the treats outside somewhere in a little park. What do you think?" Amari grinned broadly at her father, pleased with the plan she dreamed up weeks ago in her journal. "That sounds like the perfect day, baby. I think you have given some serious thought to your last adventures in the city. I am impressed." Dr. Johnson took his daughter's hand. "Let me pay the bill and then we'll be off, free as the breeze." The day went exactly as Amari had planned. She and her dad enjoyed looking in old bookstores, buying warm spiced pecans and walnuts from a street vendor, and reading historical plaques in various churches and graveyards across Boston. The only thing that didn't go perfectly was that Mike's Pastry was sold out of cannolis, so Amari settled on a cup of pistachio gelato instead. She also remembered to buy a little rum cake for her mom since that was her absolute favorite dessert in the world. The night before the move, Amari had Jackie over for a farewell dinner of baked macaroni and cheese. Mrs. Johnson took several photographs of the girls with the family's new Nikon camera. Photography was a hobby of hers. Jackie presented Amari with a sketch of the two of them that she'd made for Amari's new bedroom in Raleigh. She got teary when she handed it to her best friend. "I'm going to miss you so much, Amari. School is going to be so weird without you there. Promise me you will write." Jackie hugged Amari like perhaps Amari couldn't move away if she did let go of her. Amari also cried. "Of course I'll write, Jax. You know I love writing. And maybe your mom will let you come visit for a week during summer vacation." Dr. Johnson and Amari walked Jackie home after dinner. The girls exchanged one last hug, and then Jackie walked up the steps to her apartment, trying to control her fast-flowing tears. Early the next morning, the moving trucks arrived. 4 huge men made dozens of trips in and out of Amari's house, carrying heavy furniture around as if it weighed nothing. In less than 4 hours, everything was in the truck. The only house that Amari could ever remember living in was empty. It seemed so strange, But there was no time to waste since they needed to be in Raleigh by dinner time the next night to meet the movers. Amari dreaded the 12-hour drive. She hated being confined for so long, though she was a bit curious about what she'd see along the way. "Goodbye, house," Amari said quietly. She hopped into the back seat of the car with her trusty old pink teddy bear, Rosie. Her Aunt Melanie had given Rosie to Amari for her first birthday. Amari's dad put his maps on the front seat. Her mother put on her sunglasses, and the three of them were off, heading for Route 95 South. The first few hours flew by, partly because Amari fell asleep not too far into the ride, probably somewhere in Rhode Island. All of the packing, last outings in Boston, and goodbyes had left her feeling emotionally drained and physically exhausted. When she woke up, Amari heard her parents talking logistics. She looked out the window, trying to thaw out. "Can we take a bathroom stop soon?" she asked. "Sure, baby. I'll keep my eyes open for a rest stop. My legs could use a stretch anyway," Dr. Johnson said. They pulled into a parking lot just over the New Jersey border. Amari was furious when she noticed the colored-only signs at the water fountains and restrooms. She would have boycotted the facilities, but she really had to go. The ladies' room was downright filthy. Back in the car, Amari complained about the rest stop. "I'll bet the white bathroom was so much cleaner than ours, and I would never want to drink from that fountain for black folks. It looked like no one had wiped it down in ages. Yuck," she griped. Her parents acknowledged her complaints, but Mrs. Johnson said that she wanted to try to stay positive on the drive. Amari's dad suggested that they play some kind of game. He was an avid game player. Scrabble, Monopoly, checkers, you name it. Even though she wasn't really in the mood to start, Amari agreed to try her dad's idea. First they played I Spy. Then they played the license plate game. Amari was quite pleased with herself when she saw an Alaska plate and a New Mexico plate. Finally, they went with Amari's favorite activity in the car, where one person starts a story and each person tells a sentence in succession. The three Johnsons came up with a great travel tale about a man named Felix who opened the world's biggest candy shop in an island in the Indian Ocean. Just outside of Baltimore, Amari started getting fidgety, so they decided to call it a night. They pulled into the parking lot at the Greendale Motor Lodge. Dr. Johnson left Amari and her mom in the car. He went in and asked for a room and was refused service because he was black. So he headed down the road to the next motel. The same thing happened again. Dr. Johnson tried to remain calm, but Amari could see his growing agitation. "How many years of medical school have I gone through? I have saved how many people's lives in a major hospital in Boston? Am I still not good enough to stay here? Is my cash less valuable than a white man's money?" Mrs. Johnson and Amari kept quiet, knowing he needed to vent for a minute. Finally, after 3 refusals, the Johnsons found a place that offered accommodations to black people. They dropped off their bags and took the motel owner's suggestion for a good nearby restaurant within walking distance. Amari decided that some music from the jukebox might be just the ticket to shake off the bad mood. She asked her mother for a few dimes. The Seaberg Select Automatic whirred into action. Amari got back to the booth just as the first song came on. While waiting for their food to arrive, Amari danced at the table to "Shimmy Shimmy Cocoa Pop" by Little Anthony and the Imperials and "Wild One" by Bobby Rydell. Her mom even got into the spirit, tapping her feet to "Baby, You've Got What It Takes" by Dinah Washington and Brooke Benton. The fun vibes of the music cheered all of them up. Amari crawled into bed in her favorite lilac nightgown. Her mother kissed her forehead, saying, "Tomorrow we'll be in our new house, and since the kids are on school vacation this week, you'll have a whole week to settle in before you start your new school." Amari had trouble falling asleep. She wondered what her new school would be like and how different it would be to live in North Carolina. Her stomach was full of butterflies, not just those little yellow ones, more like the giant ones you see in pictures of the rainforest.